Hello everyone, welcome out to the second part of our thread clone tutorial. In this video, we'll be using Firebase to register and also authenticate users. If you haven't watched the previous video where we designed the login, sign up and also the fee screen, I've linked it down in the description below so you can check it out. So with that said, let's get started with authentication. So let's add the thread image at the top of these thread messages, right? So the image is going to be from our assets folder. So image.assets, then provide the path of the image. The name of the image is the thread underscore logo.png. So let's save in the changes over here. So let's reduce the image size, right? So let's set the width to 30. There we go. This is looking pretty much cool. We wouldn't always be returning the login screen here, right? We need to listen to the authentication changes and know whether the user has already signed in. So we'll be authenticating the user with Firebase for both sign up and also login process. And based on that, we can listen to the authentication changes and direct the user to the respective page. So let's get started. So let's add these two dependencies, right? The Firebase core and also the Firebase auth for our authentication. So Flutter pub add Firebase core and also the Firebase auth. There we go. You can see we have a successful installation over here. Yeah, so when we check the passport.yaml file, you can see those two dependencies have been added, right? The Firebase core and also the auth. So let's head over to our Firebase console and add a project, right? So I'm going to give the name of this project. I'm going to name this project as the thread clone tutorial. So let's proceed from here. Let's disable the Google Analytics and create a new project, right? So in here to start creating your Firebase project. So you can see we've created a Firebase project and we need to add an app to get started, right? So this is where I'll introduce you to Flutter CLI, right? So it comes with a set of Flutter plugins that connects your Flutter app with Firebase, right? So first of all, you need to install the Firebase tools and also activate the Flutter CLI. So I've already installed the Firebase tools, right? So in here, I need to activate the Flutter CLI. So that's pub global activate Flutter CLI. There you go. So let's export that. So once we have that, we need to configure our Flutter, right? So the command is Flutter configure. So Flutter configure. So this basically fetch your available Firebase projects, right? There you go. So we need to choose the name we gave it. That's the thread clone. And it's going to be on these two platforms, the Android and also the iOS. There we go. So before running our app, we need to make sure that our widget Flutter binding has been initialized and also we've already initialized our Firebase app. So let's do that. So widget Flutter binding dot ensure initialize. There we go. And also we need to await our Firebase and initialize our app. So in here we need to pass in the options, and that's going to be default options dot current platform. There you go. So we now have our Firebase connected successfully with our Flutter app. So when you refresh, you can see 2 apps has been added, right? That's the Android and also the iOS. So let's proceed to get started with authentication. So in here, you need to click on the Get Started. Let's add a new provider, right? And this is going to be email and password. We'll be using our email and password for the authentication. So you need to enable that and saving the changes over here. So once you have that enabled, you can just proceed with that login functionality. So first of all, the home will be returning a stream builder, right? So the stream builder takes in the stream and also the builder. The stream is going to listen to a function, right? So the function is going to listen to is the authentication state changes. So Firebase auth.instance.auth state changes, right? That's the function the stream is going to listen to. And the builder is basically a function that is in the context and also the snapshot. So the snapshot is what actually holds the data. So within that, let's check the state of the snapshot. So if snapshot dot has data and also our snapshot data is not equal to null, then we can get the user data back, right? So we direct the user to the home screen. So we can return our home screen over here. Else we return our login screen. So that's pretty much it, right? We are checking for the authentication state changes and also listening to the snapshot. So the return type of this stream builder is the user, right? So you are basically checking for the auth state changes, checking for the state of the snapshots, and returning the pages accordingly. So let's proceed with the login functionality. So within our login, the on-press of this login is where you are going to add our functionality before navigating to the home screen, right? So I'll be creating a login function at the top over here. And that's going to be future login, right? And it's going to be an asynchronous. So in here we'll be using try catch, right? So the try will be executed when you have a successful login in. So in here we need to await our Firebase authentication .instance sign in with email and password, right? So this email and password will be coming from our user, right? So we need to pass in the email controller.test. Then we trim any spaces, right? And also our password is going to be password controller.test. Then we trim any spaces over here. So once we have a successful signing in, then we need to also take care of the catch block, right? So for now, let's just print and then return. So we can then proceed to navigate to the home screen, right? So if mounted. So let me grab this code over here. So if mounted, you can just navigate to our home screen. So that's pretty much the functionality in logging in, right? So we sign in with email and password, and we pass in our email and also our password. If everything is successful, we navigate the user to the home page. So let's provide this login functionality to the on-press, right? So you can get rid of this and provide the login. So we'll be doing same with our sign up screen, right? So actually we need to push replacement. We need to replace the login with our home screen, right? So we can't navigate back. So within our sign up, we'll be doing something similar, right? We'll be creating a function to register the user, right? And the function is going to be of type void. It's going to be asynchronous as well. So within that, try and catch, right? So within the try block, we're getting the user credentials back, right? So the user credential, we create an instance of that. Then Firebase authentication dot instance. This time around, we are going to create our user with what? Email and password. So we need to pass in our email and also our password. So email controller.test.trim. The same thing to our password controller.test.trim. So you actually need to await this, right? So based on the user credentials we get back, we can access the user ID, right? We want to sort the necessary information in addition to the email and password. That's the name and also the username. So we can access the user ID from our user credentials .user.uuid. .uid. Let's check for the null. So once creating the user with email and password, we can just await and store the additional information within our database, and that deals with the Fire store, right? So we need to add additional dependency, and that's the Cloud Fire store. So Flutter pub add Cloud Fire store. That's our database. So once we have a successful installation of our Cloud Fire store, we can then call the Firestore Firebase Firestore, .instance .collection, right? So the collection name over here is going to be users .doc. Then we pass in the user ID. Then we set the name and also the username, right? So in here, the field is going to be the name. Then we pass in our name controller .text, and also additional field is going to be the username. Then we pass in our username controller .text. So I think that's pretty much it. After that, we navigate the user to the login screen. So navigate .push. Let me actually copy it over here. Then we navigate the user to the login screen, right? So let's check if mounted. So within the catch block, right, we can just print the error. So that's basically the functionality in registering the user, right? So you can just provide a register function to the press of this sign up button, right? So I think that's pretty much it. We can give it a try. So first of all, let's add our Firestore database, right? So let's get started with our Firestore database. And it's going to be in the test mode, right? There you go. So once we have our database set up, we can just give it a try. So let me bring in my emulator via simulator. So here I'll provide my Gmail and also my password. can see you've been navigated to the login screen, right? So let's check our database to see if you have successful creating of a new user. There we go. You can see the users collection over here, right? That comes with the name and also the username. So let's check the authentication as well. You can see one user over here. There we go. So let's try with the login functionality. There we go. That's pretty much it. So see you in our next tutorial. Until then, stay tuned.